friends, and welcome back. In front of me, we have a pile of wood.
That's a surprise to us.
I know, right? Us and wood, that never happens. So today we're going to try and transform this wood to something interesting and unique and playful and all of the above, right?
Now this wood looks a little bit different than we work with.
Yes, I mean, we have worked with similar things in the past. But today we're going to try and build something that will be rather difficult to find. We're going to build something for a very specific, for two specific purposes, right? Not one thing, for two. So let us show you the purpose. Yes. So today's project will be rather straightforward. We're going to take several walnut pieces like this, and we're going to make a lot of pieces like this, which are intended to display LP records, or you can display art on this, this, and a few pieces like this that they are we designed them to display rain drums, but you can display a lot of cylindrical things, right? ASMR with Professor DIY and Peter and Mrs. DIY. Today's project will involve something for this. I know it's very hard to imagine, but it will. Oh, you don't want to keep the suspense, I see. Imagine I'm a wall.
It looks like a porthole.
But anyway.
It's the Miss Molly thing that we always...
But that prevents it from rolling. In case you put it on the wall a little crooked, how much will it take to roll?
Quite a bit.
There, it will roll there.
It will roll, but that's
So
quite an angle.
don't put it in any deeper angle than this. So stick around to see how you can make one of these to accommodate your rain drums. This is going to be a fun episode, and you are still our favorite viewer. And this has grooves. Anyway, we'll show you one at some point of the video to show you what it is like.
Apparently that point is...
Well, I'm talking about pointing them at a device that plays them. This is a vinyl LP, and they usually come in a paper envelope. And Elpida would like to be able to display them as art and decor in her place, right? So we're going to make some wall holder-uppies.
Holder-uppies. I think that's their official name now, wall holder-uppies.
So this is Project Uno.
And for that end, I did buy some really nice walnut.
Project Duo will be a similar idea, a display for these rain drums. Not how you use them, I don't know how to use them. But Elpida received some of them for a gift, and she would like to display them as well. So it is Elpida display project unit today.
Okay.
So there are two ways to build the display for the LPs, right? One of them is using different pieces of wood, like one, create an L, right? This is a little boat, so but you can see the idea, right? And then in the front, use a small piece, so this will require some milling, right? And then remember, this will be the wall, right? So the LP will not be able to fall because we have the lip here, right? This is method number one. Method number two is using a singular piece and milling it either with using your table saw and either a dado blade or your table saw and a normal blade and make several passes to create, in essence, the same thing, right? To create a area where you have a lower part.
Yeah, it would be like a ridge or a groove that we would cut right into this same piece. One piece.
Right. Alternatively, we can use a router with a router bit and route the middle of it, right? Now, people will say, well, I don't have a router or I don't have a table saw. And that's valid. And if you want to and you really enjoy spending a lot of time in your shop, actually you can do it with a hand router. They make little devices that look like a plane that have a concave
The different
blade.
profiles.
Yeah, and then you can make several passes of it and do it that way. So there are ways to do it even manually. For us, let's try to see if the router will work, and we'll go from there.
And again, if you don't have the router or the table saw, having the three separate pieces that you attach to create that space is also
It's a simpler way to do
Yeah.
it, a simpler assembly. So even our most devoted viewers will not know that we actually have a router table. Because as you can see, we use it so often, it is nice and smooth and clean.
Oh, yeah.
Because it is constantly in use, right?
Right.
So the first step clearly will be to clean it. The second step will be to remember how to use it.
That's a key part. So hopefully,
Especially if we cannot find the the fence, we won't be able to use it. It
Wow.
needs a fence.
And there's an extra part down there.
Oh, details.
Well,
So-
we'll get this set up and we'll come back.
Yeah. So to bring this in a little more usable condition, hopefully we're going to clean it first. Cleaning your tools before and after use is a great idea that enhances both the safety and the outcome of the project, because dust can actually be very slippery and also can prevent your wood from aligning correctly to your fences. So while this seems like boring, it is a great tip for every level of woodworker.
So we cannot do this the way we intended, but you might be a redneck if you create your own fence with clamps and spare wood.
So we found a router bit that we want to test. We're not sure that's what we're going to use. And because if you're doing something you haven't done for a long time, like this is the case with us now, it is a good practice to actually try it before you commit to.
So we have some test pieces we're going to use as sacrificial experiments. And it's very important for this particular machine that you get this tightened absolutely correctly, because you don't want this bit coming off.
It's also very important for me to remember how to lock the...
So we got to do that. We'll come.
The key to successfully routing is a steady feed rate. And here we have the router bit kind of high, but it is very soft wood. For other wood, we need to make it lower. But as you can see here, I moved the piece a little out of the way, and I'm not sure why. Maybe too deep, actually.
Yeah, I agree. Too deep.
And maybe go to the bigger one.
We can try it. And then we can use the album to kind of see how it fits in each one. How's that? Okay, so we cut two separate versions. One has a deeper depth that we use the bit on, the same width of the bit. This one is slightly more shallow.
So then we tested it to see how it manages the album itself. And we think that the width of the channel is plenty. We don't need it any bigger than that.
But here's the question. Do you want the front to be a little thinner?
So then the question is, how deep do you want the channel, right? So we have this one that was about halfway, as you can see, halfway down. And then this one, we have a little bit higher, so it's not quite as deep. So then it's just a matter of deciding, which one you like the better. I think they're equally effective.
Yeah, either one will work. The difference that we do have to take into account, though, is these are pine that we used for our blanks, essentially, very soft wood. The wood we're going to be making the actual pieces out of is walnut, which is a much harder wood. Taking that into account, if we wanted to make the deeper channel, we would probably have to do it twice so that we're not burning up the bit, we're not burning up the wood. So we're probably just going to go with the more shallow channel so we can do it in a single swipe.
Hopefully.
Okay. The key in using a router table successfully is a very steady pace as you're pushing the material through, especially when you're using hardwood like we're using here, which is walnut. If you go too fast or too deep, you're risking burning the wood, and that would be very, very hard to hide if you end up burning your wood. And also, you're going to very much decrease the lifespan of your router bits. You want to avoid that, as router bits are rather expensive. Another key here is do not cheap out on router bits. Buy decent quality router bits, not the cheapest possible router bits, because you want them to last a long time and give you a very nice, smooth cut for all your projects.
Well, this is what happens when you don't use the back.
And
That looks like it's got chocolate shavings on it.
it doesn't. It has
No, I know. Oh, I know. It's,
For your drink.
right walnut shavings.
So because the albums are approximately 12 inches wide, this board is about 2 feet, so 24 inches wide. It's just a tick over, so I'm doing just a little bit of a tick over on that 12 as well. They might end up being just shy of the 12 just because of the curve of the blade, but it'll be close enough for me.
And one becomes two.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
And now this is rinse and repeat for as many as you want to do, right?
Right. And you could make them a little wider than the album itself, just to give it a little extra edge. But for the sake of wall space, Yeah, I know we can use it just as wide as the album.
Well, and it was the sake of the length of the board that I bought.
Well, that too. It's
Yeah.
convenient.
Yeah.
Okay.
The board had a knot in it. We were able to flip it over to make the channel, and it won't affect anything in terms of being able to use this.
Yeah. So we actually put the channel a little further over away from where the knot is, and that makes a big difference.
Right.
Being able to use that piece.
So as you can see, this piece is bowed, and in this operation, it makes a difference. We can see in the quality, it is not bad, it can still be used, but we can see it in the quality of the channel that was cut, right? And it was really chafing a little bit, it was moving, it was louder. It has to be perfectly flat, and this was not. So if we have a bigger piece, as long as one of the side that goes on the fence is flat, that's fine. We don't need to make it perfect both ways, but we just want to show you one of the caveats of using. The router is much less forgiving than the table saw when it comes to cutting. And the chatter and everything, and excellent. So we're using our first piece that we made. We're raising our blade just above the height of the piece. And now we're using it for our width, right? So all I did is I touched my fence there, and you see how perfectly straight this is? Again, since we learned from our mistake, we're going to make sure that we have at least one perfect, well, I don't know about perfect, but straight,
And the other pieces, for the most part, have been wider, so that's why we're into that thinner.
Okay, and I will need my pussy. No. Here we are simply cutting the pieces to the correct width so they will all be uniform on our wall. This is easy with a table saw, but you can use a hand saw as well if you happen not to have a table saw. So do not fret it if you don't. So we took pieces of walnut and made more pieces of walnut.
We sure did. We have
Actually,
a file
what we
now.
did is created more similar width pieces.
And some other not so similar pieces.
Right, because that's how it works, right?
But we will find uses for these as well.
I'm sure we will. We always do.
So now we're back to the router table.
Because we needed 28 pieces, we needed to do a lot of routing, but if you do not have that many to display, it is much faster process. We did not show you all of it, but it takes some time to finish. So as you can see, this generates quite a lot of fine dust, but it also generates good results, especially if you have all the pieces you need, and we don't.
So this is a different setup than you saw a little bit ago, because what we found out is that these clamps and this guide board that we put here were not enough to keep this from moving, and so we had a couple of whoopsie pieces because the board we were cutting through made it move, and so we had to realign it with our original piece to make sure that we were in exactly the right spot.
Not as a pressure, but just as a guide.
So this, you call that thing?
It's a push.
Push stick, but it's a push pad, whatever. It was holding it, not holding, but acting as a guide for exactly in the channel. And then we added this piece, which is much stronger than these two clamps right here, just to reinforce that those lines that we used, the measuring, that we stayed on track.
Now this will all have avoided if we found our fence. That is the proper way to use the machine. You may be a redneck if... And this is a little public service announcement for all the Ryobi heaters that tell you not to buy Ryobi tools. This is a blue Ryobi, which makes it old, right?
Right.
Ryobi has changed the colors over a couple of decades ago. It still works fine. We have no problems with it, other than not having the fence, and that is not the tool's fault.
Right, we've misplaced it.
I don't know what we did with it.
But it is working well, and we just had to reacquaint ourselves with this tool.
All right, that's all, folks. Most, if not all, routers use their fence as the point of dust collection, and we could not locate our fence because we made the one from wood. So we had a lot of dust all over the place, and dust can make the area slippery and make the workshop more dangerous, and also prevent you from correctly aligning your wood. So it is a good practice to use dust collector every now and then, do your vacuum and make sure that your area is clean of any dust debris. A couple of tons of sawdust later, we have our channels, right? And this is a reasonably simple project if you have a router table, but we wanted to show you some of our errata. Erratum number 1.
Yeah, what happened here?
We had a blowout.
We did.
And we're not really sure why, but if you can see, I don't know how clear it is, the channel, it started going up, and we think it's because this is a boat there.
I want to show this because it got deeper than it was supposed to be, and then it got even deeper as it went all the way through the other side. Okay, and then what happened to the other end?
Well, in the other, we just turn it over to save it, and we believe that that's when our piece starts moving, because our next piece also has a little bit of mistake.
So this one is, you said it was bowed, so how
You
would we
cannot see it on
see?
Well, this is both actually. Yeah, come around here. You can see underneath.
Yep, I can
You
underneath.
shouldn't be able to see light underneath.
Yeah, I
So
And so as you're looking at the channel, you can see that.
yeah, wiggling. And then also we felt like at that point our clamps were also a
Yeah.
little bit looser than they needed to be. So we were able to salvage the other end of the piece, I think.
So we're going to use half of it. The other
Yeah.
half, unfortunately, it is unusable. And then we did the modification we showed you, so we will prevent our makeup fence from moving, because
Right.
that's what started happening, we think. And I think on this page you can see that the fence was moving a little bit.
Yeah.
So you can see it was a thicker wall here.
Starting
It
to wiggle
moved,
right
and
here.
then- But this is still usable for what I want it for.
Right.
So,
But in any case,
and what about this one? Chatter, as you called it.
I think this started to move, but it is very usable.
So we'll
Oh
just,
no, that was the first one that was bowed, because I can even see
yeah.
it here.
And so we'll just clean it up with some sandpaper. And while it would be more noticeable if we left it at a 24-inch length, because I'm going to cut this in half essentially, you're not going to see
Right.
it as much as you.
And also, it could be operator error. I haven't used the router table probably in 10 years, so,
It's been a while since we used it. It was time.
yeah, it was time.
That's why we always do test pieces, right? To see, how it's going to go before we pull forward with the expensive stuff.
And it went.
It went.
Okay, another project we're going to make with the walnut is some hangers for these rain drums. And what we've decided to do is use these two pieces for the body of them, and then we'll have another front-facing piece like this. And so essentially, these will sit on the wall like this. And if this is the wall, this upright piece is the wall, they're going to go like that. But we're also going to make a little divot in here so that these won't be rolling back and forth.
Right.
And then
It'll
this,
hold it in the center of the piece where we want it.
and we're going to use these two pieces as the main body. We're going to get all four up and out of here. We're going to make them sized for each of the drums, meaning we're going to use the diameter of the largest to cut a piece here, and then so on for these two. For this upright, to make the lip, we're actually going to rip it so that it's about half of the depth here.
Yeah.
That's really all we need. It's not really
Just a
gonna,
little fence to kind of hold it in place, right?
It's not going to be holding any weight. It's just going to hold the drums in place.
Right. Okay. What were some other, we talked about a few other ways to do it. What were your thoughts? I mean, just in case somebody
originally-
wants to do it differently.
Originally, I had some scraps, and they were all about the same size, and so I was all going to make all of them about that same size, and then make the little divots in them. You can make them with different types of wood. Obviously, this is just what I bought because I happen to like the grain.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways you could do it. You could make an upright, even something like this that's going to hold it in place.
Right.
Just your design is dependent upon what you want to do.
This process is called ripping, and we are cutting the wood in its long dimension, thus making it less wide. We're getting two pieces out of one, so that improves our economy, and also it makes the wood thinner, that fits better our design. So now that we cut the thin strips, as we showed you a moment ago, we'll give you another way that you can make the first project, which is this, right?
Right.
If you do not have a router, you can use the thin strips, right? So, right? And even if you wanted to make more, you can make a channel.
Yeah, you definitely can. In this instance, because we're going to put these things on the wall, and not the piece we're working on now, but if we were going to put this on the wall would be here, so nothing would slide off,
Right.
because this would be attached.
So that is an alternative way to do it.
Yep.
And now the rest of the story. Walnut is an expensive wood, a very beautiful wood, but fairly expensive. So we're trying to make the best out of the stock we have. We're doing a lot of cutting that is not absolutely necessary, but makes our product better and best utilizes the wood we have at hand. You don't necessarily have to do all those cuts, but learn how to maximize the wood stock you have available to you, especially if it is expensive like the one we use today. So now we're going to mark roughly a diameter, and then mark it on the other side so we don't need to calculate the blade width. What I was telling Elpida is that if we were to mark it next to each other, we will have to add the blade width, right? Where now we want, and our waist will be the same regardless. Not much we can do with that little piece anyway. You need to put the line.
All right, so just trying to show you the marks in a little better light, essentially trying to do the diameter of each of the drums. So I lined it up with the end here. You can just see the pencil mark there. Did the same thing from this side so that we don't have to worry about the kerf of the blade, and marked it on that side. And then I did the same for this piece for the two smaller diameter drums. So we'll take this over to the chop saw, cut all 4 pieces, and then we're also going to use our front pieces and cut them to the size as well.
Okay.
I'll marry up one of these.
They're just stacked 2. They're not quite lined up. I don't know. Does that matter?
I think it's lined up end to end. It's just that the thickness is a little bit off.
Okay.
So now I have to adjust it a little bit.
So we have the thicker piece and the thinner piece stacked on top of each other to cut them at the same length at the same time. So we have all the pieces that we need for each length based on the size of the drum. Next thing we need to do, we need to take some of this off so that it has a groove to sit in, or a channel, I call it.
So we're bringing all the tools out today, and it has been a long time since we use our bandsaw, so hopefully it still works. And another saw, incidentally, that can do this cut will be our scroll saw.
Yeah, we
The
have
sewing
that one.
machine.
Yep, it looks like a sewing machine the way it operates, but it's actually not putting things together, it's taking things apart.
Right. So we're going to use this to cut.
Yeah, we have a concave shape, and so we definitely need the bandsaw to get in there and hollow it out. Now, I guess you could use a sander with a rounded barrel,
That's what we're going to
right?
say. We could sand it on that sander there, but
I think we want to bulk out it and then we can clean it up.
But if you don't have a saw, you can definitely use a sander to do the same thing. Right. But they're the same thing. But I forgot to show you that it was very unsmooth, and it's pretty smooth now, but do you see the line? I don't see the line.
I don't see the line.
Okay.
We could technically sand a little bit more on this side, but it's not absolutely needed because actually the roughness might help hold the drum in place.
It's not going to go anywhere.
I will say we need to clean our...
Yeah, I don't know where our thing is. So for this project, we're going to use the CA and wood glue combo. And don't put too much wood glue. We don't want it escaping. If it's escaping, we'll just sand it a little bit. It's not a big... And now align it, hold it for 30 seconds. And technically, we don't even need the clamps afterwards, but we'll put them just for being safe. And let glue dry, right? This is plenty strong. You can put some brad nails if you want, but really, they're not needed. And we're using the biggest clamps we have, right? Mm-hmm. Very good. And it helped to have the right clamps for the right project, doesn't it? But now you see the design of the little piece. And we're going to show you how it works in just a few moments. So as you can see, the bandsaw does a very good job of getting rid of the material, but it doesn't do a very good job in keeping it nice and smooth. So we're going to go and take all three of them back to our sander and make them nice and smooth. A bench sander makes this quick work. You don't need it. You can use a hand sanding, even totally manual using just sandpaper. But if you want to use the sander to make the cove, then you will need a bench sander. Say what you want about the old Craftsman. Months in storage, we just turn it on and it works, right? I mean,
Yeah, did a great job.
unfortunately, the new red and white Craftsman is not this quality.
This is the old school.
Old. Yeah, but it worked very well for exactly what we needed.
Just some touch-up sanding to get the little hairs off.
A lot of those are absolutely perfect. You know, look.
They are. Like this one's really good. It doesn't take much. Just more of a fine. Getting any of the little hairs that might be hanging out. Like this one has some hairs here, but it's a really clean, routed edge overall.
And I noticed that we have some pieces that are imperfect, like this one. And that kind of just adds to the uniqueness of it. But we were very careful to cut, particularly a piece like this that has a big crack in it, and this one has a big knot in it, to make sure that we have enough meat on the piece so that it doesn't fall apart after we cut it.
And for this one, like we put it on the bottom.
Yeah.
So the tray is going to be like this, and you won't see it unless you're lifting it up, but it still meant that we could use this piece of wood.
Right. So be very considerate of what you're cutting away and what you're keeping when you're orienting it on your router.
So for designs, something else you could do is take a round over router edge and round this over. Depending on the amount of round over you want, you could even take a sandpaper and just manually do it and just give it a softer edge than this crisp one. For me, what I'm looking for is the crisp edge. I really like the look for this project, but depending on the bits that you use, you can definitely change the look of these pieces.
Right. So this is more of a modern look with very clean lines.
And by the way, while this was designed for LPs, you can use it for art.
Or
They put picture frames on it.
something else that I'm going to be doing, I'm just going to do it in a different way, is also I'm going to be putting my CDs on the wall as part of my art. And these tracks could probably also work for CDs. I'm just going to do it in a different way.
We're using one of our damaged pieces, and we want to see how poly will bring the grain up, and that looks pretty nice actually. Okay, so probably that's how we're going to finish them.
Poly it is.
And you can see the before and after. I mean, there are two different pieces, but they were very, very, very similar. Very, 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 very.
Very.
Now, this was not our design. Elpida sold them online for how much?
$22.
$22. And
six.
we're going to put that for 6 of them. And we spent about $15 of wood for everything.
Yeah.
And we made what, 20 some of these?
20 some of those plus 4 of the...
4 of those, and
of
we
the drum.
still have more than half of the wood. So fairly inexpensive. Not a project that requires a lot of doing, I guess, a lot of cutting. I mean, it's a lot of repetitive cutting, but I don't know what I want to say.
Depending on how much you want, but it's a fairly straightforward design. And
So-
she just wanted a lot of them.
A beginner can do it, you think?
Yes, with the right tools.
Okay.
Yes,
Not very expensive. We did bring a lot of our tools out for this one.
we did. We
So-
could have used different tools.
Yes.
That would have taken a little bit longer.
So for the channels, we definitely could have used the table saw instead of using the
Right.
router. Would have taken a little bit longer because the router made this in a single pass, whereas this table saw we would have made 2 or 3 per
Well, not if we've used the data
the
stack.
data set.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just depends on if you have
Right,
the data
what you
stack
have.
or
Right.
yeah.
But can happen with a
Yeah.
single blade, right?
Yep.
So, did you like it? I mean, that was for you, Elpida. So,
Oh yeah, I'm super
is that
pleased.
what you wanted to do, or?
I am super pleased and just stoked about getting these up on the wall with all of my albums and with the drum.
All right.
Yeah, can't wait to see the final presentation.
So I installed the rain drum shell. They're holding up, looking very nice. And then this is the first 4 of the LP holder. And for my purposes, because I'm in an apartment, I did use command strips to hang these. There are other options that people could use, but that's working for me. I installed them last night to allow the command strips to adhere properly before putting the albums on, but they look really great. I'm very happy with them.
So friends, this is our 2 projects for today. I think most everyone can do them. And while the way we did them required a lot of equipment, a lot of tools, you can find ways to do them even with hand tools, right? There are what they're called rabbiting planes, hand planes, and you can do that with rabbited hand planes.
It would be a little bit harder because this was a hard wood we used, but something softer it would probably.
And you don't have to use walnut.
Right.
You can use any wood you want, and you can stain it to make it look like walnut, and that will cost you even less money. So we hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, we will appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't, make sure to hit the other button twice. Share, like, subscribe. Let us know. Do you like to see more episodes like that? And if you do, we're going to make sure and make more. From Professor DIY, Mrs. DIY, and Elpida, let's build something together.